Yo, 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 this is Mr. O. Yo, 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 this is Mr. O. And today we're going to learn about rational exponents. Okay, this topic covers a lot of rules, a lot of definition, because we're going to simplify. And with that, I will go ahead and I will start with things that you need to know here. Okay, you need to know that c to the 5/3 is an exponential form, and you need to convert this to radical form. And to convert this to radical form, it will become cube root of c to the 5th power. And how does it work? This a review. The 5 power there remains with the c there, but the denominator is your index. Okay, so that's how you convert an exponential form to radical form. And then you need to simplify this one here. How many c do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the index is 3. So I need to group them. So a c will come out and the c2 will remain inside, cube root of c squared. And that's the answer. I will explain everything here as slowly as possible, as clearly as possible, so you can understand this. I need you to mark the items that you don't understand and put a check mark on the things that you clearly understand. Okay? So, one more. I have here cube root of 2e. This is in radical form, and you have to convert it to exponential form. So this is the radicand. That will be the base now. And the invisible exponent here is 1. So it will be 1. The index is 3, so 1/3. Common mistake of the student, they forget to put parentheses here. If you leave it like 2e to the 1/3, you're assuming that this is the only thing that goes inside the cube root. It's just like writing 2 cube root of e. And that's not the problem. Both of the 2e, the entire 2e, is part of the cube root. So there should be a parenthesis. So it's important that you need to write parentheses there. Next, you should remember how to simplify or use the product rule. X to the 4 times x squared is going to be x to the 6. You add the 4 and the 2. Okay. When you are dividing h6 divided by h8, you know that you need to subtract the exponent, and the answer has the h expression has to be all where the bigger number is, which in this case in the bottom. So h2, because 8 minus 6 is 2, but that's on the bottom, so just leave it to 1 here. Okay. All right. Those are the things that you need to know. Okay. So here are some rules, some reminders in order for us to simplify expression with rational exponents. First, we need to rewrite all the radical forms in exponential form. So for example, if you're given cube root of x squared, I need you to make it x 2/3. You have to convert this to exponential form. Again, review, this is the power of x2, that's the power of x2. The index is always the denominator of your exponent. Okay. Next, use the exponent rules. These are the product rule and quotient rule. You remember, when you are multiplying, you're going to add the exponent, and when you are dividing, you will subtract the exponent. Okay. Write your answer as a radical in simplest form. So, like, let's say you end up your answer to be x to the 8. That's your final answer. Don't leave it just like that. You have to simplify it. You break down the 8 to 4 and 2. This is 2 and 2. That's a pair. So the answer is 2 square root of 2. Don't just settle you're almost one step closer to the final answer. So finish the job, okay? Because this topic is all about simplifying to the fullest, okay? Rationalizes if needed. If you have 2 over square root of 3 is your final answer, don't forget that you're not allowed to have a square root in your denominator. So you have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by square root of 3. So the answer here is 2 square root of 3 over 3. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead now. So simplify. R to the 2/5 times R to the 9/5. Okay. Mr. O, why you're adding fraction here? Because there's a case that this might be a fifth root of R squared, or this might be a fifth root of R to the ninth. So I have to start with fraction. So one way to solve it is you practice your fraction or use your graphing calculator. Okay. So let's go ahead now. So when we multiply R to the 2/5 times R to the 9/5, we're multiplying them. We just copy the r, but remember, we're going to add the exponent 2/5 plus 9/5. And then the answer will be, since they have the same denominator, 2 plus 9 is 11/5. Okay? That's the rational portion. But you need to convert this one to radical form. All our answer should be in all our answer should be in radical form, the simplest radical form. Okay, so this is not yet in radical form. Again, that's our index, the denominator, and this our power. So we end up with fifth root of r to the 11. Since there are 11 R's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have to group them in the 5 because the index is 5. So 1, 2. So the answer now here will be R squared because there are two groups of R with 5 R's and a fifth root of R by itself. And that's the answer there. Next, d to the 1/2 to the power of 3/4. If you remember, one of the rule is the power rule. If you have x squared x squared to the third power, we multiply the 2 and the 3. We don't add them, we multiply them. So same thing with this. We multiply 1/2 and 3/4. That will give us d to the 3/8. And then we put it back in a radical form. So 8th root, because that's the index, the denominator, and this is the power. 8th root of d to the third power. Or you should understand that you can write it as 8d to the third power. That's okay. They meant the same thing, okay? I want to make sure that's clear to you. On this case here, I can only have 3d's, and that will not be enough to form a group of 8 of these. So that means I'll leave the answer as like that. And any of these two here could be the answer. Next, simplify g 8/3 divided by g 3/4. And again, here we're dividing, so we're going to apply the quotient rule. We will subtract them. So g 8/3 minus 3/4. Now they do not have the same denominator. So we need your power of fraction here. You can use your calculator, but I'll show you here, at least the manual way. Multiply this by 3, multiply this by 3, multiply this by 4, multiply this by 4. That will give me g of 32 minus 9 over 12. G 32 minus 9 will give me 23 and over 12. So now I will put it now in a radical form. The 12 is the index and G23 is the power. Remember that I have to group them. I'm not going to write 23 G's, but I know that it can make at least one group of G's there. So therefore, I'm going to have a G outside and a 12 root of G11. And that's the answer. Again, one more time, why the answer is that? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12G. That's a group of G. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That is not enough. This is not enough to make a 12G, and that's 11G. That's why we have G11 there, G to the 11 there. Okay. All right, let's go ahead now. 64 raised to the 1 half raised to 1/3. This is similar to the previous one here, except that the base here was a variable. Here it's going to be a numerical value. Okay. So there are several ways of doing this one here. Okay. First, I know that what is 1 half times 1/3? 64 1 half times 1/3. So remember, when you're multiplying, you just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. Convert this to exponential radical form in radical form. So the index is 6, 64 to the 1. So you can just leave it blank. And now you break down the 64 to 2 and 32. 32 is 2 and 16, 2 and 8, 2 and 4, and 2 and 2. How many should be in the group? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is just 2. Dos. Kaboom. All right, we're getting there. Next, simplify 27V4 raised to 2/3. Remember, guys, that this entire thing is raised to 2/3. Okay, so how do we do it? Okay, first, we have to understand that 27 is same thing as 3 to the third power. Okay, and V is same thing as a V4. You know, that's still V4 raised to 2/3. I will distribute the 2/3 there, and that will give me 3/6 and V 8/3. Now, what is 6 divided by 3? 6 divided by 3 is 2, so 3 squared. And the V 8/3 is still gonna be, you cannot divide 8/3. What's 3 squared? 3 squared is 9. But this one here can be placed in a radical form with a cube root of b to the 8. Since there are 8 v's, oops. Since we have 8 v's there, I can come up with 2 groups of v's there. So a v2 will come out. So it will be 9v2, v squared, cube root of v squared here, because this 2v squared here will stay inside. And that's the answer. Next, 49 raised to the negative 1 half. One of the rule and laws of exponent is that if we have x to the negative 2, that goes down. That becomes 1x squared. The exponent becomes positive. Same thing with this example, 49 raised to the negative 1 half. This has to go down to make the 1 half positive. So it becomes now 1 over 49 to the 1 half. And the meaning of 49 to the 1 half is same thing as 1 over square root of 49 first power, which the 1 and the 2 can be invisible. The power and the index can be invisible. But what is square root of 49? The answer is 7. So the answer is 1 over 7. Simple, right? Next, 16 2/3 times 16 negative 1/3. Again, we have a numerical value. I'm going to tell you, you're going to multiply here and you're going to add the exponent here, okay? Take note, do not multiply the bases. Just copy the 16 and add the 2/3 and the negative 1/3 here. Okay, we do not touch the 16, just copy it. 2/3 plus 1/3 is 16 and 1/3. Now put it back in a radical form. So the index is 3. 16 to the 1 is invisible. Now we can break down the 16 to 8 and 2. 8 is 4 and 2 and 2 and 2. How many should be in the group? The index is 3. So 1, 2, 3. So a 2 will step out. Cube root of 2, because this 2 here is left out, so it stays inside the radical sign. Kaboom. Next, 112 divided by 7 raised to the negative 1/4. Again, one of the rule, if you have a negative exponent, you swap them. That means swap, the 7 goes up, the 112 goes down. This becomes now 7 over 112, but the exponent will turn to be positive. And try to divide 7 by 112. 7 divided by 112 is 0.0625. If I hit the math frac, it gives me 1 over 16. The meaning of that one is that I can put this one in a radical form. So this will become now fourth root of 1 over 16. And we know the fourth root of 1 divided by fourth root of 16 was fourth root of 1. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is still 1. So the fourth root of 1 is still 1. Fourth root of 16, you can break this down to 8 and 2. The 8 can be broken down to 4 and 2 and 2 and 2. That gives us 4 twos there. So the answer here is 1/2. Kaboom. Now we have a cube root of v times v. Remember, the index here is 3, the index here is 2, the power here is 1 and 1. So if I convert this to exponential form, this will give me v to the 1/3 times v to the 1/2. And same thing as what we've done before, we will add the exponent because they have the same base and we're multiplying here, v to the 1/3 plus 1/2. Again, the magic and the power of fraction, we multiply this by 3, by 3, by 2, by 2. That will give us 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 times 1 is 3, over 2 times 3 is 6. So the answer there is v 5 over 6, and convert this to radical form, 6 root of v to the 5th power. We will stop here because there are only 5 v's there. It's not enough for us to make 6 v's. Next, 4 over cube root of 4. Again, we will convert this to exponential form, 4 1/3. Okay, now I need you to pay attention here closely. Okay, you have to multiply the 4 here by an exponent that will make it equal to 1. And the only way that it will make it equal to 1 if the exponent of 4 is 2/3. Why 2/3? Because what do we do with the denominator? We multiply them, but what do we do with the exponent? We add them. What's 1/3 plus 2/3? 1/3 plus 2/3 is equal to 4, 3 over 3, or just 1. That get rid of our square root or our radical sign in the denominator. So therefore, the answer now will be 4 times 4 and 2/3. But obviously, we don't stop there. We have a 4 here, and 2/3 is same thing as cube root of 4 squared to the 4. First, we know that we can cancel this 4 here. 4 divided by 4 is canceled out. Next, what is 4 squared? 4 squared is equal to 16. And we know we can break down the 16 to 4 and 2. 4 and 4, I mean. This is 2 and 2. This is 2 and 2. How many again should be in the group? The index is 3, so that should be one group. So the answer here will be 2 cube root of 2. Okay? Fourth root of x to the 10th power. Again, we will convert this one into exponential form, x 10 over 4. We can simplify 10 over 4. That gives us 5 halves. And then we're going to put it back to radical form. This will give us square root of x to the 5th power. And how many x's do we have there? There are 5 x's there. And we can come up with two groups. So that gives us x squared. And this x here will be square root of x. And that's the answer. Next. Fourth root of 25m squared. So again, we're going to put this one in a radical form or exponential form. This will be going to write it 25m squared to the 1/4 because the exponent of the 25m squared, the entire thing is 1. And now we can distribute the 1/4 to the m and to the 25. That will give us 25 to the 1/4 m squared to the 1/4. But what do we know about 25? We know 25 is 5 squared, right? And this is 1/4. And we can multiply the 2 and the 1/4 that give us m 2/4. Let me write my answer here. What is 2 times 1/4? 2 times 1/4 is 5 2/4. So now they have the same 2/4. What's 2/4? 2/4 is 1/2. 5 1/2, m 1/2. Since they're both the same, I can factor it out and make it 1/2 here. And put it back to radical form, and the answer now is 2 here, 5m there to the 1, which will be just can be invisible. So the answer is square root of 5m. Okay. And there you have it. And that's how you simplify rational expression with rational exponent. As always, kaboom.